Welcome, champions, to the next overview and tier list ranking, featuring the newest champion. This is where we'll break down their mechanics and place them in my overall tier list for every champion in the game. So let's talk about Fen, the chaotic evil, Dhampir drow rogue / warlock. She's here to get her affiliation, the Black Dice Society, rolling again. She has the tags of DPS and support, but she technically has a little speed in there too, even though she's not tagged for it. Her first formation ability is Mischievous but Dangerous, where she increases the damage of all champions in her slotted column. This is the first of a few reasons she's similar to Kent. And those of you who use Artemis go, ooh, because she's a DPS with a positional formation ability in a slot that did not have that option before, Seat 6. She's similar to Kent because he is also a DPS with a positional buff affecting his column, and for more reasons we'll bring up as we go on. So if you use them together, you'll be slotting them in the same column together. For her bit of speed, she gets Patron's Oath, where if she is in the formation and you are in a Patron variant or free play, any Patron challenge progress made by the party is increased by 100%. There is also a feat to increase it by a flat 200%, bringing it to a total of 300. So you will be completing challenges 4 times faster. So basically, anytime you're working on a Patron challenge, use Fen. For all of you who complain about the chores of the game, this is your answer. Now, while this specifically states Patron, it is currently working for applicable seasonal quests as well at the time of me recording this, so keep that in mind. To increase the buffing potential of Mischievous but Dangerous, she gets I've Got You, Friends, where she will increase it multiplicatively for every member of her affiliation, the Black Dice Society, slotted, or every champion slotted with a wisdom of 15 or higher. This makes it scale rather hard, but it's a tough order to fill if you're not focusing on the Black Dice Society. But also make sure if you are using 15 plus wisdom champions, you slot them adjacent to Fen if possible, because of Warlock Pact, where she reduces the normal attack speed of all warlocks in the formation by 0.1 second for each point of wisdom an adjacent champion has above 10. So you want her adjacent to as many high wisdom champions as possible. You might think this is only important if you use her or a fellow warlock as your DPS, but that's not completely true. Think about everyone who is a warlock. Maybe you want Freely to apply his debuffs faster, Nova to apply her slow faster, Warden to apply his hex faster, Penelope to push back with her primary attack faster. But probably more importantly, Fen's own specialization, where you have a choice between Shadows of the Underdark, where she increases Mischievous but Dangerous by 100% and causes her normal attack to deal an additional 5 seconds worth of bud damage with each hit. And remember, her primary attack is an AoE, so increasing her attack speed, even as a support, will come in handy with her dishing out more bud. And yet another parallel to Kent being a DPS with a positional formation ability, dealing bud damage with their primary attack. Her second choice, Curse of the Dhampir, simply increases her own damage by 1000% if you're looking to use her as your primary DPS. Her ultimate has her activate Sylvanas mode and sweep across the battlefield, dealing 1 hit of bud damage to all enemies on screen and knocking them back. While her only source of buffing the formation comes from Mischievous but Dangerous, you have plenty of means of scaling it up. Between I've Got You, Friends, her specialization, and the fact all 3 have a gear slot tied to them. By itself, it's really a dead average buff, so you really have to work within its own restrictions to make it more powerful. So let's talk about her event, Midwinter. This year we have the option of our newcomer Fen, the Gold Lover Rust, and the Debuffer Talon, all fairly solid options to have in your roster for all different reasons. As I always say, it's worth unlocking all of them and doing your best you can to FE, full epic, all of them. If you're looking for a hard focus, know that this will be Talon's last year available during the event, as he'll be retired and only obtainable through time gates. Rust is really only useful for a gold farm, but his equipment really does have an impact on his gold find. And as I went over with Fen, she scales decently with her gear, so it really depends on what you need in your arsenal. I'll be focusing on Fen because she makes an excellent addition to my no fuss, no muss Artemis setup. So what about her variants and achievement? Well, her achievement for starters is incredibly easy to activate, and you can do so just with the core champions. You need her Warlock Pact to grant a total of 3 seconds worth of reduction, and since that's 0.1 per wisdom above 10, you simply need to surround her with enough champions that equal 30 total wisdom above 10 between them all. Just put her in the middle of 6 champions, like in any Grand Tour adventure, and slot away until you have enough wisdom stacked up. I achieve things, I'm an achiever. Her adventure variants aren't too bad, but one might give you resistance. They all force you to use Fen, but allow you to move her. The first takes up a slot in your formation with the Patron Mert, effectively making her formation the same as the Grand Tour. However, only champions in the middle column will be able to deal damage, so just be sure you slot your DPS in that column. The second has the patrons Vajra and Zariel, filling up 2 slots in your formation, limiting your options. And to further limit you, only Black Dice Society or Wisdom 15 plus champions can be used to really drive home her formation abilities, I've Got You Friends, and Warlock Pact. This is the one that might give you some trouble depending on how expansive your roster is. The third is easier than the second in my opinion, as there are no restricted formation slots, though you cannot use champions with a ranged attack other than Desmond. 1 to 2 zombies will spawn with each wave, but will drop no gold or count toward quest progression. Strahd will spawn as a second boss in each boss area, and you must defeat him to progress. And for the last parallel between her and Kent, she fits a strange place in her affiliation, the Black Dice Society, if you haven't gathered that yet. Where Kent in his affiliation is a DPS/support whose damage output outclasses his affiliation's dedicated DPS, Dahani. Fen similarly outclasses the damage output of Nahara, the dedicated DPS of the Black Dice Society. Now it's a little different here since Nahara is also a speed champion. So if you for some reason are going to go all in and put your item levels into the BDS, it's probably worth using Nahara up to her wall, and then switching over to using Fen as your DPS. After all, Nahara shares a seat with Spurt, who synergizes excellently with Desmond, so he would make an excellent swap. I mean, I guess another parallel would be that they're rogues using one-handed swords. I, on the other hand, will be using her for some great synergy with Artemis, as I said before. Shandy was decent in her seat, but Shandy no longer has 2 positional buffs and is not a DPS. With Krydal's change and the addition of Fen, I'm quite enjoying how this Artemis formation is looking as a hassle-free, hands-off Bud Destroyer. With Krydal placing AoE Bud Bombs, Kent applying a Bud Poison Dot, and Fen attacking with AoE Bud Splash. So let's invest in her, shall we? Her availability is really on point. Naturally available for every patron, which would have really sucked ass if she wasn't, since she grants that tasty patron challenge progress increase. Her ability scores are also pretty good, allowing her for every day 1 trials of Mount Tiamat restriction. She's not like amazing, but she's pretty good. And that patron edition makes her incredibly valuable for those who want to speed up challenge progression. A passable DPS, alright buffer when sticking within her confines, and a great addition to an Artemis roster, and excellent Bud damage. Following our theme of her and Kent being mirrors of each other within their affiliations, why not have them side by side in that hard A tier then, yeah? I'm glad you swung by and stuck around, you beautiful creature. Sensually persuade that like, sub, and bell for me. Leave a comment on Fen and what you think about her. Stay tuned because I'm always working on the next one. Have a hell of a time out there, champion.